Hey guys, Nestler Magic here, and Wizards has been doing a bit of like a beta test, like a test run of Brawl, I guess you could say, which is the new singleton format that's supposed to be standard only. If this is the first you've heard of Brawl, that's odd, but basically it's Commander but with 59 plus 1, so 59 plus the Commander has to be legendary. And that's about it. Other than it, like I said, it's supposed to be all cards from standard. I mean, there's nothing stopping you from running modern Brawl. It's just you kind of made something up and that's not what Brawl is. They do address that in this latest update to Brawl, but after a couple weeks of it, it has really caught on from what I've heard. Just on social media, friends of mine, people at my own couple LGSs I attend, they've been talking about it. I think certain stores are talking about making it like an official thing on like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever. Some of you have reported that in other places they're doing like a split F&M. So many people want to play it that it's like, why not do it when everybody's together? And I've been to LGSs that run split F&M. It was Modern Standard. I've seen Commander Standard. I've seen Draft Constructed. I mean draft and constructed, not draft constructed. That's right, guys. You draft all the cards, throw them away, and then get out your constructed deck. Woo! Draft constructed. It's my new format. So according to Gavin Verhey, the alleged creator of this, holy crap is it taking off. Although it's like self-representation bias or whatever you want to call it. I mean, basically, like, if you're playing a game of Brawl, you're like, oh, this is that new thing, and we're doing it. Let's tell them about it on social media. Whereas, like, nobody's like, oh, I went to F&M and played Constructed. Let's tweet Gavin about it. But still, just from what I've heard and what I've seen, people like it. And the best way I can sum up its success, and this is exactly what I predicted, because it looked pretty fun and pretty cool in the first place to me, but it seems like my suspicions were correct in that, people love Commander because it's singleton. You only need one of every card. So instead of, oh, this card's, well, in this case, like Teferi, $40 and you need like 4 of them. What the hell? And plus, it's slower when you slow it down to singleton. Like, people just cannot get off these like ridiculous sick combos. And people love slower because you can get away with some more crazy crap that would normally be like too weak to put into constructed or standard constructed. So people love Commander. It's crazy successful as a format, but what do people hate about Commander? Well, just jump onto X-Mage and look at the lobby names. Screw your turn 2 infinite combo fetch garbage. We just want to play a real game, not watch you win the same way 10 times in a row on turn 2, okay? That's not even worth shuffling, and it's digitally shuffling. Somebody pulls that crap in real life, and unless it's like a tournament with prizes on the line, people are going to be like, get the hell out of our play group and never bring that deck again. So people love Commander, but what's wrong with Commander besides the morons running the ban list? Because I got to throw that one out there. All of the degenerate, broken combo crap stretching back to like 20 plus years ago, okay? It's all those broken cards that, let's be perfectly honest, were never tested or intended to be ran with cards from Dominaria, for example. So if all that crap was gone, there you go. And that's why Canadian Highlander was so popular, because it really pumped the brakes on that kind of stuff. But it still allowed it, though. I mean, it was a really roundabout, weird way to police it. So this, just make it standard. Simple. The cards that you're already buying to play standard constructed, you could take the leftovers or whatever, share cards between your decks, whatever you want to do, and make a basically miniature Commander deck. And of course they had to shrink it from 100 down to 60, or I should say 59 really, because there's just less cards. I mean, you don't want to be throwing in, oh, I'm going to throw in a vanilla 2-2 because I'm out of cards on this color. I mean, if you think about it, how many cards are legal of each color at any given time? I mean, it depends upon how many sets are in standard, but not much. Like, probably not more than 300. Even that seems high to me. And then get rid of, like, the bulk crap, reprint, just blah, vanilla, filler garbage, and you're probably left with, like, half of that. So if you're going 3-color, wonderful, but if you're going mono, you're going to run out of options if it was 100. So that's why I think it's taking off, and I haven't built a Brawl deck yet. I mean, I just spent way too much money on my last 2 decks, so I don't think I'll be building a whole lot, unless I just build it digitally and not build it in real life. But anyway, I got some good news. Wizards is paying very close attention to Brawl and making some changes to it to just tweak it a little bit, tweak the rules, and they're going to officially support it and that kind of stuff. So let's just read through the article of all the changes and updates that they're doing here. And I'm going to super condense this. I'm not actually going to read the whole thing. It's like 30 pages. So he starts off by saying, oh, wow, there's this new format people are doing called one-on-one Brawl. What planet are you from? I know Commander is typically thought of as like, oh, multiplayer, but not always. I mean, I've probably played more one-on-one than I've played multiplayer. And honestly, a deck is either designed for multiplayer or it isn't. It uses wide hitting each opponent triggers or it doesn't. You can swing at one person at a time, so if it's combat heavy, it's going to be a little rough for multiplayer unless you like the whole, oh, I'm going to swing at you but not you, and politics and like, Survivor, I'm going to vote you off the island level politics and stuff, which actually is pretty fun. So apparently he's just astonished that people are playing one-on-one Brawl. You know that Magic the Gathering is not inherently built to be multiplayer, right? Everybody knows that, right? It's not balanced and it doesn't work, and anything that says each opponent is always going to trump anything that says single opponent. So, yeah, it's just, the game just doesn't work at a basic level in multiplayer. So, of course, people want to play one-on-one. Duh! I mean, that's how we're used to playing Magic, is one-on-one. I mean, why would that surprise him that people are going to do that? So anyway, they had a big old brainstorming board meeting thing that I'm sure involved a bunch of hipster crap, and they came up with a list of goals and tenets for what this format should be. So number 1 is Brawl has 2 important audiences. It starts out with, as I discussed above, we've seen Brawl evolve from a multiplayer-focused format to a format that encompasses 2 ways to play, multiplayer and one-on-one. Still, no idea how that's a surprise to him. I would dare say that less people are playing multiplayer than single. Especially with like a lot fewer options for let's hit everybody kind of stuff. Although, Torment of Hailfire, oh my god, guys. So then they make the idiotic decision of, in cases where the needs of the 2 formats are at odds, multiplayer should win out. Why? Magic is not designed for multiplayer. And then they just immediately walk it back and say, this is not to say multiplayer always takes precedence. For example, if a legendary creature is far too strong in one-on-one but is not an issue in multiplayer, because that's how Magic works, it is still likely correct to ban that card. Well, that's in direct contradiction to what you just said, but okay. So they finally reveal their whole thought process here. He says, why should multiplayer generally win out just in like an even match? Because one of the most important parts of this format existing is that it creates that casual, relaxed multiplayer format for the standard card pool. There it is. They want that to be a thing, so whether or not it actually is an easier thing or more popular or more played, they want it to be a thing. And then they just throw everything out the window, all logic and all reason. He says, but really, with all that said, we see these less as 2 distinct ways to play and more as simply one unified format, Brawl. You can have a Brawl deck and play it in multiplayer or one-on-one. No, you can't. It's focused on one or the other. Trust me, you're either running Torment or you're running giant creatures that can swing at one person. The cards either say target player or they say each opponent, and you built it one way or the other on purpose. Trust me. I mean, literally the next sentence is, and yes, decks optimized to play in multiplayer will do better there, and decks optimized for one-on-one will do better there, but they are compatible. Yes, they are technically compatible, but, like one time I didn't have a modern deck and somebody was doing a casual modern round robin tournament, so I entered with my standard deck. Yes, it is technically compatible. Take a guess if I won. The funny thing is I actually did really well, but I didn't win. I think I actually went 2-2. It was actually really funny. But yeah, seriously, decks are either multiplayer or one-on-one, and if I'm not mistaken, in Commander there are 2 different ban lists. One for Commander duels or whatever, which I guess is a one-on-one. I don't know. It's some MTGO thing, so I don't know that much about it. But I do know that it has a different ban list. So if that's the chosen path, why not carry it over to Brawl? I just don't get it. In fact, number 2 on their list of 5 is don't fracture Brawl. Also, don't fracture the Sylex. It'll blow up your whole damn plane. I gotta read this verbatim because it's just gonna sound awesome. Imagine this scenario. You walk into your game store. You ask if anyone wants to play Brawl. 2 other people say yes! Exclamation mark. You sit down to play. However, after the first 2 turns, it quickly becomes apparent that you've all built decks under very different rules. Even less necessary! Exclamation mark. No, I'm not kidding. You have a standard Brawl deck, the very term of which is very redundant because Brawl is standard, that's what it is. Someone else has a modern Brawl deck, which is not a thing. Someone else is playing their invasion block Brawl deck. Okay, no they aren't. That is not a thing. Nobody has done that. Let me guess, the 3rd player is also Bigfoot. And suddenly there's a huge, quote, language barrier. Brawl means something very different to each of you. You're not playing the same format. No, you're playing the format. They're playing some bullshit they made up because Brawl equals standard. I don't know why they think this is a thing. Now, You could play standard plane chase, or you could play, modern plane chase, commander plane chase, whatever. I mean, you could literally take any format and just drop it into the board game Explorers of Ixalan, because it's basically plane chase, but with like slight differences in that you don't have like a field spell. So yeah, you can mix it up, you can call anything, but still, Brawl is standard. That's what it is. That's the rules. I don't know why he's like, oh, yeah, somebody just showed up with a modern Brawl deck. Then that person's an idiot. I mean, they didn't build a Brawl deck, did they? But then again, is Brawl really a format? Because I've heard of a little thing called Standard Commander. Guess what it is, guys? Commander with only standard cards. I mean, just because I soup up a golf cart and we invent something called golf racing does not mean that I'm still playing golf. No, I'm playing a new sport I made up called golf racing. And for the record, it's freaking awesome. Anyway, you get it. So, the very next part is, when I say Brawl, it's important to know what format I mean. When I say modern or commander, the vast majority of players pretty much know what I mean. And he says, yes, in Commander, there is a difference between one-on-one and multiplayer, but a wide swath of people will mean the multiplayer format, and Commander has also existed for long enough that it can support two varieties. I guess that's their excuse for not splitting it. Okay. Well, let me reiterate their warning. You can't take a multiplayer-centric deck and just nuke somebody in single player, and you certainly can't take a single-player deck or single opponent deck, whatever, one-on-one, and expect it to do well in multiplayer. It will not happen. So he does say, especially this early into Brawl, splitting into several different formats and legalities is very dangerous. No, having somebody show up with a modern Brawl deck is pretty dangerous. So if you fracture it, you start running into incompatibility issues. Then stick to your original damn article that says it has to be standard. My God, they're acting like they gotta frickin' launch a rocket into space with it. It's not that damn complicated. Build it with standard cards. If you build it with modern cards, piss off because you broke the rules. This isn't hard. You're worried about fracturing it. Who the hell is playing modern Brawl? Nobody, that's who. He's acting like this is the end of the damn world. My God, split it up, fracture it. So he makes a point of, oh, well, if you fracture it, then you run into incompatibility issues, and then people can't find critical mass to play, like 4 people to sit down and play because, oh, well, one brought standard, one brought modern, and one brought invasion block. And if everybody brought the same deck, then it would be. So what are you going to do about it? Let people just show up with whatever the hell they want? You fractured it by naming it 2 different things. I mean, this is the dumbest thing I've ever read. So he goes on to say, it's deeply important to create the feel that your deck always works no matter where you go, much like Commander, one-on-one specific decks aside. He keeps making this exception that's like, yeah, other than this reality, which is true and proven. Other than that, we're doing something completely different. Oh my God, this is a huge part of what makes these types of formats hum, and while supporting both multiplayer and one-on-one creates a minor fracture, your deck is playable in both. See, that is true. I mean, that is a good point. It is playable, you just won't win. And a deck built for one can easily shuffle up and play the other. Multiplayer to single, yes. Single to multiplayer, no. So how might this be practically applied? Well, one way is in terms of banned lists. We're not interested in banning a card just for one-on-one play and letting it be legal in multiplayer or vice versa. Now see, that does kind of make sense. Either get rid of it or don't. Because like, how much better could it possibly be in like single than multiplayer or multiplayer than single? Well, the first one has more of an extent possibility. And then they'd be like, oh, well, you're bringing your deck. Oh, but is it legal for if we add a person? Like, oh, let's play. And then a third person walks up. Oh, no, sorry, I have a banned card. You can't play. That I agree with. I mean, just if it's so toxic in multiplayer and then you got to ditch it, but then like it's legal in one-on-one, just ban it from everything. Do one-on-one players really need it that badly? I mean, if the answer is yes, it's like, whatever. Oh, well, they banned it. Get over it. It sucks, but then at least anybody can sit down and play with anybody. The whole let's let modern Brawl people sit down and play with us, though, that's idiotic. I'm glad they left that point behind like 4 paragraphs ago because it sure as hell ain't gonna happen. But then they said any rules changes that keep the compatibility going but still make a change, they're fine with that because it doesn't affect anybody's ability to like sit down and play. So they said if we change the starting life total for one-on-one but left multiplayer at the old value, that's fine because everybody can just do that. Which is, by the way, not true because of, what is that, Reservoir. You could just nuke people with it. If you start at 40, you just gain 10 and just, like, blow somebody's head off. And also, they give a second counter example because everything they say, they immediately, like, just tear it apart in the next sentence. He says, and yes, some decks would be weakened. Any kind of quick aggressive deck playing multiplayer, for example, if the life total were to change, would get just obliterated because now you got to hit for more and you run out of cards, you top deck, nothing, and you lose. You just completely run out of steam. So yeah, that wouldn't work. You're correct. So what you just said is incorrect. Good job, guys. Don't change the starting life total. So anyway, that's basically the end of that section. They literally never come back to what they're going to do about modern Brawl and how that's fracturing it, and they just said it and then never came back to it. So let's just keep assuming Brawl is standard, because it is. Hey guys, guess what the title of the third section is? Brawl uses a standard card pool. Can't make this up. Can't make it up. Gavin can, but I can't. So the very first part speaks volumes. He says, out of all the elements of Brawl, this has perhaps been the most discussed, and it has been wonderful following all sides of the discussion, seeing what has leapt out of it. There's not much of a discussion. It's, hey, this would be fun with Modern too. Cool, let's play that. Like it's a casual format. You can do whatever the hell you want with it. But for now, hey, I've got an idea. Let's make it standard because that's what it freaking is. So, okay, let me just sum up all their flowery corporate speak. Let's not beat them over the head with the point here. They need it to cycle because they want you to build new cards, or buy new cards. Don't build cards. That's just weird. And it helps out the players because what's wrong with Modern? It has a static start point, nothing ever cycles out, and the only way to fix something is to ban it, which universally pisses somebody off every time they do it. Although if they ban Kitchen Finks or Ensnaring Bridge, I'm getting a freaking cake. And for other people that would whine, oh, you broke my Lantern Control deck, this isn't fair, I spent money on it, now it does nothing, wah. Just give all those people who have been caught playing Lantern Control a lifetime DCI ban. Then they can't play the game anyway, you don't have to hear about it. Simple, the solution writes itself. But also, they said if you continue to add cards, it piles up, it loses its identity, decks become too powerful, too toxic, and they can't have that. So that's why what is that stupid thing that nobody plays? Frontier? That's why nobody respects Frontier. Also, it has fetch lands, which is just stupid. That's the biggest mistake ever. They should have just banned all 5 of them right off the bat. It's non-rotating. It's only going to get worse and worse and worse and more degenerate and more unfair and more early and more in need of ban lists over time. That's just how it works. So what people really wanted was for Extended to come back. We don't need Frontier, we need Extended. It's usually standard plus 6 sets or whatever. I mean, they changed it like 5 times, so it's, whatever. It's about what it is. But it rotates. It's just you can use your decks and your cards longer and there's a little bit bigger pool, but it does rotate. So at some point, you're forced to change, but you could run your cards for 4 years, basically. I mean, 4 years, come on. I mean, you don't get 4 years out of a car in some cases. That's what people really want, so that's what they're doing. That's why point number 3 is Brawl uses a standard card pool, because standard rotates, and then eventually you have to rebuild your deck. It's really that simple. And they kind of hint at, that's what's wrong with Commanders, all this like turn 2, too fast crap, overpowered stuff, combos that were never tested together. And that's the thing, standard cards were tested together to not be too powerful. So you got that little insurance policy. Can you imagine Dominaria mixed with Theros? Oh my god. Legendary synergy with Weapons, Devotion, and Marwyn all mixed together with Karametra's Acolyte and Nykthos. No thank you. Mana Ramp as it currently is, with Ugin? Oh, that sounds fun. Treasures mixed with Scions? I'd rather eat my own hand. Some cards were just not meant to go together. So the only important statement out of this, except for the explanation, is ultimately after listening to tons of player feedback on every axis, we have decided to keep the format standard. Good. So point number 4, protect what makes Brawl fun. Cheap, unpredictable, flexible. Those are my top 3. Let's see what they think it is. Oh, they need to make this into a bumper sticker. Here we go. Some of Brawl's most fun pieces are, number 1, are you ready for this? Memorize this. Make your entire life about this next sentence. Or 2. I think it's 2 sentences. The varied singleton nature. It's great to play games and draw really different mixes of cards each time. Let me add to that, okay? Some of Brawl's most fun pieces are the varied singleton nature. It's great to play games and draw really different mixes of cards each time, comma, you stupid freaking fetching, scrying, drawing assholes who win with the same freaking combo every time on turn 2 or 3 in Commander. Screw you guys, you're all ruining the format for everybody, you're ruining the fun for everybody. The whole point of Singleton is that every game is different. Even standard decks that just win with the same win condition over and over and over, they're boring. Approach of the Second Sun is stupid and boring. You win the same way over and over and over. And even those games are more dynamic than Commander, where it's literally just, I mean, have you seen highly competitive Commander decks? They're basically Charbelcher, Goblin Charbelcher. You know, the old Legacy deck or Vintage or whatever the hell it is. I think it's Legacy. It wins one way. It wins only one way. And that's it. Who the hell wants to shuffle? Okay, do start this. Oh, I won with the same card. I won with the same card. I won with the same card. Same card. Same combo, same pieces. Not only is that repetitive, boring, and stupid, but it opens you up to people predicting your moves and being able to shut down your deck really flippin' easily. I don't know if you guys have heard in other videos what my proposed fix to Commander, the permanent fix to Commander is. No fetching. Simple as that, no fetching for anything other than lands, obviously. You cannot go into your deck and look for a card unless it is a land. Problem solved. You want to go get some degenerate infinite combo? Go get it the hard way with scry and draw, okay? Open up the game to like turn 5 so somebody can actually play Magic. That would solve the problem. You cannot deny that would solve the problem permanently. So yeah, Brawl is fun because it's Commander without the go fetch infinite synergy combo crap. Point number 2 is building around a character. No, nobody gives a crap about that. Although, you guys know I would make Raph my commander in like 1 second. I don't even remember if he's legendary. Everybody wants Comic Relief Little Kid as their commander, okay? He's freaking awesome. His one-liners are gold. Literally the storyline, he's like, y'all taking this way too seriously? It's Raph time. I'm gonna jump in and say something stupid, awkward, and funny. Raph is my hero. In fact, if I was in the Harry Potter world, I think Raph would be my Patronus. I would blast him out of my wand, he would make some off-color, stupid, awkward comment, and it would scare the Dementors away. But other than that, I mean, all flavor decks, they're kind of funny as a gimmick where you're like, oh, it's all robots, ooh, Karn's robot army. But at the end of the day, you also kind of want it to win. Nobody builds a modern elf deck because they're like, I just love elves and their deep culture and their rich lore and how their culture's different from plain to... No, they just want to run you over with a giant elf ball. So anyway, I mostly disagree with that, but to each their own. If that's what you want to do for fun, it's not like I haven't done it. I mean, I built a gimmicky deck, the banana deck. Everybody knows banana deck. Almost every card in the deck costs 1. That was the theme. You know, it's a gimmick, whatever. But now they do touch on something other than the lore or, oh, I love Jace, I love Liliana. They do say that, yeah, this deck would be great if I could just get this card out, draw it, play it every single game. Like Gisela, for example. Dude, you guys know I would make her my commander in a heartbeat because if she was out every game, damn. But there's other synergy boosting angels and synergy boosting, Arvad, there's the vampire booster, the merfolk booster. Actually, no, I don't think there is a vampire booster. There is a pirate booster, though. Assuming any of those are legendary, make that your commander and boom, get it out every game. It's your solid go-to card. That is what people like about Commander, where it's you always have that card effectively in your hand. It's always playable. Now, the third point is something I pointed out before. The ability to use cards you wouldn't otherwise use in Constructed. So they're too slow, too expensive, too whatever. Great. Brawl is slower. It's Singleton. People just can't get this mad, crazy card combo going off. So yeah, the color identity restriction and the Singleton nature makes it so that cards that would no longer be competitive and Constructed for various reasons are, and you can play them. Which, by the way, if you're interested in nothing but that, I made a format called Giant Leaders. Look it up. Every single spell has to cost more than 4, or 4 or more. And you basically start with 2 basic lands in play that are technically emblems. They can't be destroyed. And that's it. It's literally nothing but spells that people think are not competitive and not playable. Well, they don't just think so. They are. And yes, I absolutely love that. Not only because it's a 25-cent card, it's some, bulk mythic, but you really want to play it because it's really fun. Metallurgic Summonings. Oh my god, put that in your Brawl deck. That card's a freaking riot, but it's almost impossible to actually get it going in Constructed. It's a 5 cost and it's really hard to get it into your hand on time. Not early, not late. And then the last one, which is absolutely true, the format is accessible. It's pretty easy to put together a Brawl deck and just start playing. And then if you want a good one, you don't need tons of play sets. In fact, you don't need any play sets. So they're really hitting the nail on the head with these, definitely. I mean, overall, they make the point. It is easier to build a Brawl deck than it is to build a standard constructed deck, and that is absolutely true. It's probably cheaper too. And that's why I wish that they would ban, like, probably all the top decks in Standard right now, just to get it so that people could play some little second-rate stuff that's really fun, uses a little bit less powerful cards, but that are just highly varied, and they might actually, like, win with them. But that's what Brawl's for. So yeah, I support the format 100%. And everything they've said so far as like changes, I mean, they haven't really changed anything yet. I mean, they did in the article, by the way. But yeah, I basically support everything so far except for the whole, fracturing would be bad. No, just tell people to play it one way. It's not fractured if you tell them take your modern Brawl deck and piss off. That's not a thing. That's not really fracturing. Number 5 is Brawl should receive Wizard support. I don't really even need to read what they said. Just, they're going to support it on Magic Online, make it playable. They're going to keep one-on-one and multiplayer queues open. They're going to, follow stuff, and they're going to make rulings and just, like, control it and, like, maintain it so it's playable. And yeah, they probably should. As much as I don't want, like, wizards running something, I don't want the players ruining something. So yeah, police it a little bit. Let's do it. So those are the 5 philosophies. So what are they actually changing? First, colorless. I don't know if you guys noticed, but there's a little bit of a problem with colorless. If you decide that you want to run Karn or Hope of Ghirapur as your commander, because those are legendary and colorless, I wouldn't say you can't add lands to the deck, but you pretty much can't add lands to the deck. Remember, you can't run wastes because those aren't legal anymore in Standard. And you can't run islands because those tap for blue. You can't run mountains. You see where I'm going with this. Like, you can't even do certain deserts because they can tap for, like, white or whatever. So, I mean, there are a couple lands that tap for just colorless, but I'm getting the impression from what they're saying that there's not, like, 20 to 25 of them or whatever, because you can only run one each, remember? So basically, it's not doable, but people have built colorless commander decks in the past, so people want to do it. So they're like, let's fix it. If your commander is colorless, you can now pick one basic land type and run that. So simple fix. It's a little weird. It's a little dodgy, but it fixes the problem, and I can't think of any alternatives, so let's do it. By the way, I gotta read the way they phrase this because this is like the realest part of the article. This lets people easily make decks with cards they have. Yeah, like basic lands. We talked about other options such as making wastes legal. That would have went over well, but that has its own oddities because they're not legal in regular Standard, by the way, or draft. Actually, no, I think they're legal in draft. I think somebody asked that and we never found out. But anyway, people would have to go out and acquire a bunch of Oath of the Gatewatch cards, which will become harder as time goes on. Damn right. I mean, I'm holding a couple hundred of them, so, just saying. I think for simplicity, they should have let people do both, though. They should have let you just say, okay, it's forests. Or let you play with ways. Either or, because then it's like you can do it if you have them, and then it's more like, okay, I'm not tapping for green, I'm actually tapping for colorless. Because then people would have like the clean version of the deck, like the real version, and then I only have forest version of the deck. I think that would be kind of cool. I don't know, maybe it's just me. So to be perfectly clear, okay, if Karn is your commander, you can run either like 20 plains or 20 forests, but you can't include both plains and forests. Strangely missing from this entire ruling is, can the basic lands tap for their actual land type, or are you just like, they're filler and they can only tap for the colorless mana? They never specified, so I guess you're tapping for like white or whatever. Seems odd to me that they didn't specify. It shouldn't come up, but there are cards that like reference the color of mana in your pool, just none of them are in Standard right now. Whatever, if they ever go back to that, which I doubt they will, ruling incoming. So then they sent the Brawl format over to R&D to have them tweak it, and here's what they came up with. Oh, and some of you are going to love this. I don't have a problem with it because I know why these cards are banned, but, they're unbanning a whole bunch of stuff from Brawl. Well, I shouldn't really say that they unbanned cards. What they did is the first change they're making is separating the Brawl ban list from the Standard ban list. So if a card is banned in Standard, you can still use it in Brawl automatically. So you know what that means. Aetherworks Marvel, Felidar Guardian, Attune with Aether, Rogue Refiner, Rampaging Ferocidon, and Ramunap Runes are now officially unbanned in Brawl format. With the power of some of these cards, I mean, the power kind of was the combo with Felidar, but I mean, if you're running all cats, you're going to want Felidar. And if you're running an all flicker deck, you're going to want Felidar. So, it's probably going to drive the price up. And honestly, Attune with Aether, you're going to need that for any kind of modern or Standard Brawl energy deck, whatever. To reiterate the point that they're making here, because of its singleton nature, we believe that these cards will be less problematic in the Brawl environment. In other words, unlike Commander, you can't just fetch, and then get some degenerate combo bullshit going. You are never going to get Felidar to meet up with Saheeli in a normal game. And if you did and you win the game that way, it's probably turn 10 and you had to scry 5 times. And even that's not even half your deck. If one card of the combo is in the top 10 of your deck and the other card is in the bottom 5, they are never getting back together unless you shuffle or something. Even then, what if it keeps landing on the bottom of your deck? I mean, there is no amount of scry that will guarantee you that the card combo will go off. So yeah, there are tutors in Standard. There's just not enough. They're too expensive and they're too slow, unlike Commander, which is just broken. Hey guys, did you notice a card missing from that list? It's because they left Smuggler's Copter banned. Because screw Smuggler's Copter. It wasn't even a combo. It wasn't like a deck archetype where that was the backbone. It was just by itself a mistake. The card was a mistake. It was a disastrous mistake. It was way the hell too powerful, and whoever designed it and approved it should be fired. Now that's not what they said in the article, but that's what I'm saying because it's the truth. Let's see what they say. As it is colorless and easy to crew, we anticipate that most decks would play Smuggler's Copter. That's true. What deck would possibly not throw that in? There's no reason, unless you're running no creatures or something. So because it has such a low mana cost, it is difficult to block, it applies life total pressure and impacts card flow, or card advantage is what they should say. Too many games will be decided simply by which player drew their single copy. If it's in your opening hand, you'll have a giant advantage. The card's too damn powerful. There, I summed up what they're trying to say politely. Well, then they double down and say anything that stops Smuggler's Copter, you can only run one of that card. So good luck. And also, I do believe that Brawl has no sideboard, I think. You know what? Too lazy to check. So they're leaving it banned. I completely agree. In fact, they should probably ban it from Modern just to be safe. I can't even think of anybody who puts it in any deck. Now this is the biggest blindside out of anything, okay? Freshly banned in Brawl, Baral Chief of Compliance and Sorceress Spyglass. What? Okay, Baral I get, okay, but let them explain it. I mean, let me just say, Baral, he's Commander grade Commander. I'm actually already building a deck around him. That guy's insane, okay? He's just too damn good. It's not just, theoretically he could be a problem. No, they're going hard numbers results. This is 100% based on results. He says, in Magic Online play over the initial weeks, Baral decks constituted more than 35% of the metagame and achieved a nearly 65% win rate. Now that's not astonishing, but that's really good. I mean, they've banned decks that won 53%. So 65 is it's just better. And I mean, there's nothing inherently wrong about having, okay, here's a format and here's the best deck in it, but 65 is really pushing it. But the final straw was in the Magic Online one-on-one Brawl challenges, which, by the way, not a problem at all in multiplayer, but like they said, if they're going to ban it in one, they're going to ban it in both, okay? Because Baral would just not be able to counterspell 2 players worth of spells. It's really that simple. Basically, the majority of the top 32 decks were running Baral. I guess in challenge number 1 and challenge number 2, it was 24 out of 32, and then it was 23 out of 32. I don't know if it's red-white vehicles where everybody just does it because they're copying each other and the format's new and they have no idea what to play and the deck's not actually that good, or if it's really that good. But looking at Baral Chief of Compliance and the decks that I put him in, he's that good. So as much as I absolutely love that card, I'll say ban him. By the way, he hit $12 recently, so that's gonna tank. I actually sent 8 copies that I owned in on a buy list really recently for a really high price. And it's gonna be worth a third of that by the time it gets there. Whatever, I sent in a Lyra too for $12, so guess it all evens out, doesn't it? Also, they did add the fact that counter spell heavy play patterns, as they put it, I'm not gonna read what they put, pisses people off. That's how I'd paraphrase it. Hey, you know what? That sounds familiar. That's, it just rings a bell in my head. For example, the way that people build and play Approach del Sol Segundo. Maybe instead of banning Baral, you should ban that pile of shit. If Baral as a commander and then a bunch of counter spells pisses people off to the point where it wins too much and people hate playing against it, then maybe you should get rid of Approach of the Second Sun and 35 counter spells. Actually, half our removal. That's actually worse. They also were going to just ban him as a commander because that's really simple. But they said it's like Smuggler's Copter. If you get him out, damn, because a whole bunch of other top decks in the format are also blue commander or mono blue. Now, this next one, I don't understand at all. I can't even get what they're going with, so let's just read it. It says, the second card to be added to the ban list today is Sorcerous Spyglass. If you're not familiar, it's 2-cost artifact, so colorless, anybody can dump it in. As it enters the battlefield, look at an opponent's hand, then choose any card name. Activated abilities of sources with the chosen name can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. So, in other words, it does next to nothing and only shuts down one card. The card's garbage, I think it's like 25 cents, and nobody played it in Standard, so... You got me. So this decision is driven more by player feedback in the spirit of the format than by one-on-one metagame data. Okay. Sorcerous Spyglass's low colorless mana cost has made it a ubiquitous and disliked card. Since when did they ban cards just because they're disliked? Oh my god. Lantern Control. The whole fucking deck. Kitchen Finks. That deck can go burn in hell. Anything in Infect. The whole fucking deck. In fact, the whole fucking mechanic. Thoughtseize. Just the card Thoughtseize. Ugin back in the day. Collected Company. That card can go die in a hole and burn in hell. Sincerely, the entire rest of the Magic player base not putting that card in their deck. So anyway, they're banning it because it's ubiquitously played and disliked. Wow. Especially in multiplayer. It literally refers to one opponent. I don't get it. One of the unique and beloved features of Brawl is the ability to use a Planeswalker as a commander. Sorcerous Spyglass provides an efficient way for any deck to shut down Planeswalker commanders, often before they hit the battlefield. Oh my god, it just came to me. I just got this. You know most of you out there didn't get it either. You can name any card. You don't have to name one of the cards that's in their hand. It's heavily implied that that's what you would do, but you don't have to. You can name their commander. The exact wording is, as Sorcerous Spyglass enters the battlefield, look at an opponent's hand, then choose any card name. Any card name, not just a card that's in their hand, any card name. Activated abilities of sources with the chosen name can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. So if they run a Planeswalker, you just, name the Planeswalker. And then their Planeswalker does nothing because every single one of their abilities are activated abilities. So, okay, I'm 100% behind a ban on this. I read it the first time and I'm like, why? You're just nuking one. You're not even getting rid of the card from their hand. And yeah, banning it instead of just like giving it some weird errata that says you have to now name a card in your hand, which is not how it works. Because honestly, that card was pretty good second game because you could look at their hand and then name a card that's not in their hand that you know is in their deck and it shuts it down. Now, they said along the same lines, we also considered banning Gideon's Intervention and the Immortal Sun, because the Immortal Sun says Planeswalker abilities can't be, cast, but that thing costs, what, like 5 or 6 or something? Good luck. On the Gideon's Intervention, you just name a card that can't be played, but it's double white and costs 4. I mean, first of all, it can only lock out certain commanders, and they're colored, so you can only run them in like basically 1/5 of decks. Well, okay, Immortal Sun isn't, but still, they're so narrow, it's just like not a widespread problem is what they're saying. But they did say Gideon's Intervention specifically, if people start shifting towards white just to play it, just to jam their commander, they might consider it. So, I mean, I could see either way on that. I mean, it is kind of dickish. The funny thing is the only thing you would use Gideon's Intervention for in like 99% of cases is to name their commander, unless they have something on the field that's like devastating. Otherwise, instead of naming one card and taking out 4 copies of it, basically, you're only nuking one and they better draw it, otherwise it's a dead card, so what's the point? So next up, they did what they already admitted would be disastrously stupid but still technically doable, and they changed the one-on-one life total starting to 20. And they know that this is going to be so controversial that they start out in the first sentence with saying, let us explain this controversial change. By the way, I do get behind this, but it's just, you are fracturing it. Even though you're not fracturing it, you're fracturing it. But then again, like I said, if you built a single player heavy deck, it works in single player. If you built a multiplayer deck, it works in multiplayer. And if you try and switch it up, your deck's going to just not work. I mean, that's a fact. So in researching the Magic Online one-on-one metagame, we've observed that many of the strongest strategies use the cushion of a higher starting life total to spend early turns drawing cards and filtering through their library. It makes sense. They're trying to establish the same stupid win condition, same stupid combo over and over and over, and they're just taking hits in the meantime because they have it. And without 2 people potentially swinging at you, yeah, so I do completely agree with this. Also, Standard starts at 20. Why would you start at a higher life total for Brawl when the Brawl decks are technically weaker because they're less synergistic because you can only run one of every card? So yeah, it should be 20, but they're just really outlining my initial point, which was multiplayer is multiplayer, single is single, and if you try to mix it up, you're going to have a bad time. It is doable within the rules, but it's not going to work. So anyway, blah, 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 long-term diversity, blah, 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 control, blah, 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 whatever. I mean, who wants Red Rush to win anyway? But yeah, 20 does seem reasonable considering that's what it is for constructed. So whatever. If they were smart, they would have made it exactly, precisely 21 so that they could sell a whole bunch of different dice. Or I should say they're third-party vendors. So they did acknowledge that they wanted people to be able to play, slower paced and more varied high-power cards and late game, bombs, but they just said if it's 30, blue control decks just win. It's really just that simple. And based on the numbers that they were hinting at, yes, yeah, they do. By the way, the card Insidious Will is the bomb. I wish I could make Insidious Will my commander. So to sum it up, in case you're not getting it, the final statement by them is perfect. What we're aiming to achieve with this change is games that are slower paced and more varied than traditional standard games without making pure control always the dominant strategy. Plain and simple. So that's about it for the article. They have like a closing thing that sums up all the exact changes in a list. And they say our goal is fun and players first and blah, 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 all this other stuff. So I basically agree with absolutely everything in here other than don't worry guys, if you build one deck and it works way better in multiplayer, you could just sit down and use it in one-on-one. I mean, yeah, you can if you don't want to win, but then again, it's a casual format. I have 2 commander decks. One of them will absolutely obliterate multiplayer, and one of them is built to specifically only play one-on-one. Although it does have like a different play style in multiplayer, so I can drag it in, but it's a lot of control and counter spells. Well, if there's 4 players, I'm not going to counter everything. But it is the don't swing at me deck. So if any of the other 3 players swing at me, they are going to have bad things happen to them. They will literally be walking through a minefield to get to me, and if they want to do that, that's their own fault. It's more fun when it's one-on-one and they have no choice but to swing at me because it's never going to go well for them. By the way, I literally play the card Light Minefield, okay? It is literally a minefield. So anyway, what do you guys think of these changes? Have you been playing it? Do you like it? Did your LGS pick it up? Are you playing it casually? What kind of deck did you build? Leave all your Brawl commentary down below, and hopefully my explanation of their explanation makes tons of sense and my take on it. And yeah, I know, I'm shocked too. Just kidding. It happens all the time. I agree almost exclusively with every single point that Wizards made in this article, every change they made, every decision they made, and if I'm still kind of neutral, it could go either way. Like, I honestly think they should have tossed Gideon's intervention. But the points they made are perfectly legitimate, and they're going to continue to monitor it. So, like, I can agree with that. I would have leaned towards just ban it, because, who needs it? It's just not a fun or fair card, but, whatever. Like, I can get behind him on this. So from me and Wizards both, go have fun playing Brawl, and I might just get a deck together that is just some overpowered, just tragedy of a deck. I mean, it's like I've always said, as soon as you lower the power level, the really weird crap comes out to play, and that's my specialty. So get ready for the weird, and I'll see you guys next video.